All right, so let's do a little bit of a review about our edible architecture project that will also involve color schemes. So we started looking up some lovely pieces of architecture before, and it seems like some people want to base their project on something that exists. Totally go for it. Some people don't want to base it on something existing and want to totally come up with something on their own. Totally fine with me too. I'm happy with either of those. You decide what's going to be better for you. So at this point, hopefully, we're starting to put together different foods and shapes and colors to start assembling the project. I have a little example here in Photoshop. So once we have all of our like fruits and vegetables together, we're going to start embellishing our project with different architectural elements. So to start us off, what's one architectural element we definitely need in any kind of like living structure? Go ahead, Anna. A window, thank you. So I thought let's start the period off by making a big old list of like architectural elements we could work into our projects. Okay. Okay, window. All right, what else could I add? Doors. What was on the outside of my windows? Shutters. So it could be also like decorative elements too. It doesn't have to be something strictly functional. What else? Archway. Fancy. So an archway would be kind of like a frown shape. Okay. What may you have on the front of your home to collect something from the Postal Service? Mailbox, mail, mailbox, mail slot, something like that. What else could we add as an architectural element? We have an archway which would be curved round. What about something that would be like triangular? Yeah, you could have some kind of roof point, like roof elements, or some kind of, and there's lots of different shapes. This one you may not know what it's called, but I'll show it to you. Depends. Not quite. If you've seen these on people's houses where their window kind of pokes out of their roof a little bit, those are called like little dormers. That could be something cool you could add into your home as well. Little dormers. Again, you may not know what that is, but that's okay. We're working on it. Dormers. How perhaps if your home doesn't immediately touch the sidewalk, how would one travel from like the sidewalk to the front door perhaps? I heard it. Pathway, thank you. So a pathway, sidewalk type thing. That works for me. So different elements along those lines will add some kind of interest. These are just like some that I'm just throwing out there. You've got lots of different things you could do. You could even add decorations like other things people may have in front of their home, whether they're in like a house or they're in some kind of high rise, etc. There's usually some kind of landscaping, flowers, etc. Okay. So these are just a few. I feel like there's going to be more that come to mind in a little bit, but we'll start with this for now so we don't forget and that we have a place to kind of start and refer back to. So in my Photoshop here, I was decided to start with like an orange as a base. Again, I just use this to make like a quick example here. And as you could tell, I started to place my window with shutters on there. What do you notice about like the form of my window shutter combination? It's warped. Awesome. So, depending on the appearance of your building, you may have to warp it a little bit. So, I wanted to talk about that with you a little bit. So, the first thing I did was I just got rid of all the excess and deleted the background from my shutters. I edited them. I dragged it over to my orange over here. So, if I place this on top, you could tell it doesn't quite match the really round shape of my donut. I'm going to use my paintbrush for a sec to show you. Ooh, not that one. So we could see there's kind of like a curve in my orange on here, and we want to follow that curve in order to make like the windows and anything placed on it appear that it's going to match it. I'm trying to find sort of I can see a little bit of a roundness through the pattern on here. So, I put them on the same layer. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm still going to use transform like I normally would to like move things around, change the shape, etc. When I warp something, I go to the top of my page here to my tool options, and I used to call it the windshield wiper at the tippy top here. And when I click that, it puts me into warp mode. And you'll notice that happens because there's a big old grid on my window here. So there's a few things you could do. Like, let's say you start warping it and you go too crazy with it and it's just not turning out so hot. So I want to purposely like make some errors on here and make it look really awful for a sec. So I don't want to just like haphazardly pull it because as you could tell, it's going to look kind of like barf. So I've got this little backward sign, which will revert it to where it was. I have the what I call stop smoking sign to cancel the transformation. So you could do that too. And I also have the little check mark. So when I'm happy with it, I could finish with it. I also may want to tilt it a little bit before I get into that transform mode. So to get with like the curve of my orange, I'm going to tilt it a little bit. I'm going to try and make it sort of level with my other one here that I didn't finish. Cool. I'll go back to my transform mode. I'll start warping it. And as you could tell, when things go back in space, they're going to get a little slimmer as they're going back in space. So I'm going to start there. And this right side here is going to go back in space a little bit. Again, little wiggles. I'm not trying to move like every little intersection here. And it's a little bit bigger in the front here, which is tricky, but we're going to give it our best shot. Not bad at all. So I want to do as little like movement as possible and try and stick to like one area or one side to give us a little bit more of that realism. I could pull this up probably a little bit just to curve it. I like that a little better. Yeah, I like that better than the other one. So you can see like the tilt makes a lot of sense, and also just warping it a baby hair if you need to. You may not have to warp at all. It may not be a problem for you. Okay. Oh, one other tidbit, because we do have to stick with color schemes on this one. We got our big old list of color schemes back here. So if you find something, you're just like, oh, I need this to be violet and not green. I needed those shutters to be violet, but like it's hard to find violet shutters. I could see that being a problem. So I'm going to select. Maybe I'll use my magic wand. Oh, that worked out pretty well. So I'm going to select my shutters. Who remembers what we could do to adjust like the coloring of just my shutters now that those are selected? Yep, image adjustments, hue saturation. Perfect. So you could sit here. I know they're already really dark, so you're not going to see a ton of difference to start. But if I go this way, you could see they're definitely more purple. And I could up the saturation a little bit. That's more of a blue. But if I go a little bit more that way, I can get more of that purple I was looking for. I usually use these sliders the most. I don't go too crazy with the lightness and darkness because sometimes it gets just too washed out. And then you can really get most things whatever color you need it to be to match your color scheme. Like I said, the sky, I don't really count, but everything else we're trying to keep into the color scheme we spoke of before. Are there any other questions coming to mind as we work on this? I know it feels like we haven't worked on it in a long time because of the weekend, but that's okay. Okay, cool. We're working on this through the end of the week, and then we'll see where we're at that point. Who here has externship on Friday? Just Sophia? Okay, it's just Sophia. Oh, and Sean. Okay, just checking. Lovely. So if we have any other questions, you can flag me down. You've got all this information up here, and we'll take it from there.